Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of PTSD and Beyond. I'm your host, Dr. Deb. Yes, I am. I want to clarify something before I move forward. I come to everybody here with lived experience from healing with trauma. So I'm what I call an and kind of person. So I have the education and I have a lived experience. Now, why I say that is because sometimes when I meet people, they're like, oh my gosh, you've got all this education. As if I come to conversations and meetings with just that lens. And I don't. I come with an and lens. So I like to share things that I've learned on this journey and things from my lived experience with trauma, and the education piece. So today, I want to say thank you so much for being here, and if you're new, welcome to PTSD and Beyond, and if you are a returning listener, thank you so much for supporting us, for being here, and for chiming in one more time. This year we started with New Year's Eve. We had a New Year's Eve episode that was about setting goals. And then the first of the year, we had another episode that went about the process of setting those goals and taking it a step further and deeper. In today's episode, I want to talk with people about sharing your goals. Yes, actually not sharing it, really, but keeping it to yourself and why we don't want to share our dreams and our hopes right now anyway. Right now. And one of the things that I find super fascinating is that when we do start having goals and writing things down, especially this time of year, we want to go share it with everybody. We want to talk to other people about it. We want to talk to our family and friends about it. We talk to strangers about it. Anybody who's willing to just, I want to say listen, but more of anybody who's actually just there. Who's just like, I have a colleague that I know that he uses this phrase a lot. You just show up and throw up. It's like we just throw out all of our hopes and dreams to anybody who's happening to be there. And there's a risk of doing this. And we'll talk a little bit more about that risk in a bit. I did a session last week with a group of gals, and one woman said, hey, are we going to share our goals? And I said, actually, no, they're personal. They're private to you. And she was really surprised by this. And so we talked a bit about keeping the goals private and why we don't want to share our hopes and our dreams and our goals right now. There's another phrase, too, about do the work in private, and then share it after the success, right? So you think about, say, somebody who wants to write a book, for example, and they go out and they tell everybody their book idea, they share what they're doing, and then, maybe they get some discouragement. Maybe they hear things that they really didn't want to hear, and it discourages them. The other thing, too, that I want to mention to folks is that I'll give you another illustration, meaning it discourages them because maybe someone's going to give feedback like, oh, you're going to write that kind of book, or, and it just really fizzles out the motivation and the excitement because we are so excited. We want to share because what we want to hear is someone to say, oh my gosh, that is so cool. Go for it. But that's not usually what people do. Have you ever noticed that? You know what I want you guys to do? Just try this out. Somebody actually comes to you and says, hey, you know what? I'd like to do this, whatever this is. And say to them, that is so cool. And see what their response is. Notice what their reaction is. And mean it, though. Don't fake it. But just try it and see what happens. Because most times what we get is people are going to tell us why it's not going to work. People are going to project their own stuff. They're going to project their own ego, their own envy, their own, again, give me the 105 ways why it's not going to work and why it's going to fail and why I'm going to be a failure. And oh, there you go again, being a dreamer. No, we don't need that. We don't need that. When we tell people our goals and our dreams and our plans, most likely we're not going to get the encouragement that we seek. Instead, we're going to be met with things like, again, resistance, projection of ego, and why something's not going to work. And we know that it's really not our stuff, it's their resistance. It's their experience. It's their doubt, their worries. How many times have people said, I'm just saying this for your own good? Like hell you are. I actually had somebody yesterday, I love this. I had somebody yesterday say, they said to me, you know what, Deb, you are such a go-getter. We were talking specifically about lazy behavior. And they said, you are such a go-getter. And I'm like, I never thought about myself that way, but okay. When you have somebody who's a go-getter and you tell somebody who's lazy that, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, what are you going to hear? From the lazy person, you're not going to hear, oh man, that sounds so cool. You rock on. You go for it. No, you're going to hear, well, why would you do that? Why are you thinking of that? God, isn't anything ever good enough for you? That kind of thing. I'm laughing. It's not funny. I've actually had people say that to me in life, and I'm like, what the hell? Don't project your shit on me. Don't do that. But that's what people do. That's what people do. They might even say, well, I tried that and it didn't work for me. Okay, well, that was you. Maybe it's going to work for me. And the other thing that people will share is their fears and their insecurities. And also what they share too is their regret. Their regret because they never did it. They never did it, or maybe they quit. So people will shove all this crap on us. They will. And it turns into resistance. And the unfortunate thing is it usually comes from the people that are closest to us. And it doesn't mean that they don't believe in us. It doesn't mean that they don't believe in our dream. They speak from their own position of fear and their own position of failure. And they haven't accomplished what you want. So how can they believe that it's possible? They haven't accomplished what you are trying to do. And the other thing is, what's threatening is they can't invent and be innovative to see the possibility and the opportunity. They just can't. Their mind doesn't work that way. Or even if their mind did work that way, then what they do is they completely discount and dismiss themselves. And that's where the envy piece comes in. Have you ever shared an idea with somebody and they're like, well, that's never going to work. And you're like, okay, well, show me a way that it can work. But they can't. Or maybe they won't. There's a difference between can't and won't, okay? Won't is they could, but they wouldn't, and they chose not to. There's a complete difference. Can't is they're just not innovative. They just don't conceptualize new ideas and new thoughts. So the other thing I want to talk to folks about is when you have a goal, and if you went through the exercises from, again, the last 2 episodes, and you did those exercises, you were able to write some goals down, identify 3 call to action items to support the success of each goal, and then visualize it. Okay, you saw yourself. You took time to meditate, to see yourself going through the motions, achieving, the feeling, all of it, right? The thoughts, the feelings, the sensations in your body, everything, right? And it has your energy on it. It's got your motivation. It's got your drive. It's got your innovation. It's got your creativity. It has your grit, your willingness, your commitment. It's got all of it. And then what happens is when you share your goal, your dream, your vision, your plans especially. You might be able to share a dream with someone and they'll go, oh, okay. But as soon as you start sharing how you're going to do it and your plans, that becomes very threatening to people who have not done what you are setting up to do. Plans. As soon as you share anything, then what happens is their stuff, all that energy goes on to your goal, dream, and plan, and it dilutes it. It taints it. It changes it. Changes it. And you want to keep your stuff as pure as possible. And you want all that energy to be almost like a supersaturated concentration. I don't know. Okay, I'm going to give you guys another illustration here. And I know that this podcast is global, so just bear with me, the illustration I'm going to give. Okay, we've got a thing here in the United States called Kool-Aid. All right, and when I was a kid, you could take this little packet. In Sweden, it's the same size as a vanilla sugar packet, okay? And you dump this packet, and I know, yes, it's got red food dyed, red color. It's really just citric acid and some food coloring, all right? And then what you do is you put it in a pitcher, for something to drink, right? Like a big pitcher. Not a picture on the wall, but a pitcher of like that you'd put, something to drink in. And then you add, it said a cup of sugar, and I always thought that was way too sweet. So as a kid, I never put a cup of sugar in. But you throw in a cup of sugar, okay, and then you fill it up with water. And you take a spoon and you stir it. Well, when something becomes supersaturated, it means that the molecules of water with the sugar, it's like it wouldn't dissolve because it's too full of the molecule, right? And then you'd see like the sugar, floating down to the bottom. It's like, at what point can the water not absorb any more of the sugar because it's at a supersaturated concentration, right? And that's what you want to sustain with your goal and your dreams and your plans. You want your energy to be supersaturated, highly concentrated, because you don't want someone else's energy to come in. Now imagine that same pitcher of water that we made that Kool-Aid, right? And let's just say somebody threw in they threw in grape juice. It would totally change everything about it. It wouldn't be the same. It would taste different. It might even taste like crap. You don't want that. Again, because other people have got their own stuff. Now the difference is if you got a friend or a person in your life like a mentor that you could say the most zaniest idea and maybe they wouldn't get it, but they would believe it because you believed in it. And they would be jazzed because they're all right with themselves. They got nothing else to prove in life, and they don't compete against anybody but themselves. They're not competing with the world. They're not trying to impress the world. They've already done enough in their life that they're like, you know what, I'm good. What do you got? I'm here for you 100%. And if you've got somebody in your life like that, you know what, then you're really super fortunate. You really are. Because that's a rare thing to have in your life. So keep your dreams and your goals and your plans to yourself. Because, like I said, you want that energy to be super saturated. You want it to be yours. You don't want someone else to taint it. And the other thing that tainting can look like is planting a seed of doubt. And when we hear someone else's doubt, especially from somebody that we value their opinion, We value the relationship. We value what they say, right? Then what happens is we start questioning our own self and our own abilities. And the most important thing you want when you're pursuing your own dream is to not lose faith, to not lose hope, and to not lose belief in yourself, and to not lose the ability to believe in yourself. You want to maintain the ability to accomplish it. If you can dream it, then you can do it. Then you can do it. Achieving your dream is the objective. Concentrating on your goal and fueling it every day. And when you've got a setback, remember the second episode is about preparing for those moments when you have your own self-doubt because you're not seeing the results yet. Notice how I say yet. Because consistency is the key. Consistency is the key. What we do predominantly is what's going to show up at the end of the day. What we do predominantly is going to show up when we reevaluate. Yeah, I'm leaving that blooper in. On December 31st, 2024. That's my point. I'm going to stick to it. So we talk less. And you know what's really funny is the more that we talk less, people are going to say, what are you doing? What are you working on? I notice when I get quiet, people ask me that. Okay, I know you're doing something. What are you doing? It's like, I'm good. Now, I know you got something going on. What are you working on? Nah, not too much. And they know that I'll share when I'm ready to share. I'll share when I'm ready to share. I'll share when I'm ready to share. You gotta have the energy. You gotta stay focused. So stay silent and stay focused. And stay quiet. And keep on keeping on. And keep working toward your goals. Yep. And you know, the other thing too I want folks to realize is there's a lot of big talkers around us. You know, people that brag about stuff and, you know, they're really boastful and everything. But at the end of the day, do they really accomplish all the stuff? Have they? You know, and I say this because I'd like to believe at some point that people who are big talkers are going to have like that meeting, that that self-awareness meeting, and be like, all right, what's going on in my life for me to be that way? Because when we connect with people who are dreamers and they actually do stuff and they share when they're ready, those are the people that we get super inspired by. Those are the people who we can go to when we're having a moment of, I'm just not sure this is gonna go. And they'll encourage us. But again, it's so rare when you meet somebody who doesn't put the seed of doubt, and they got the seed of hope. Like when I did that meditation too a few days ago, you know, I talked about this. I talked about just keep it to yourself. I know you want to go shout from the rooftops. You know what? When you reach a milestone and you feel all right, then shout from the rooftops, because no one can take it away. People will try and be like, oh, that's no big deal. Oh, you think you're all that. You know, but they didn't do it. I've had people do that to me too. Absolutely. Oh, you didn't. You know what? Did you do what I'm trying to do? No, you're on the sidelines. All right, well, sit back. You know? Sit back, man. Don't be throwing me shade. All right, here's Max. What's he doing? He's doing something. My poor baby. He's had surgery and he's still recovering. All right, so we've got 3 episodes here that are specifically designed to help people with goals, dreams, and plans, and to prepare And now you got another tip here about how to keep that stuff private for a bit. All right, you know what I'm going to say next. I've changed it up a little bit this year. Oh, there he goes. He's shaking it off. Here he comes. Oh, look at him. He's so cute with that little tail. Again, thank you guys so much for being here today. And I want to give a special shout out. It is a special shout out. I want to say thank you to the country of Greece, where my heritage is at. And why I say this is because I've seen how many more people from Greece are listening to this podcast. And from my heart to yours, I thank you so much. That means a lot to me. And I am able to see, like, okay, so who's listening from where. And I also want to give a shout out to the 313 because you guys are hitting it up every month. Every month, a shout out to Detroit. Thank you, my home city. And I greatly appreciate it. I know that our city is resilient, and my resiliency comes from that great city. And I do appreciate all the listeners all around the world. We have new countries already starting this year. We're up by over 200%, and that is all because of you. So thank you again so much for being here. And as always, remember, take what resonates and go beyond.